Statistically speaking, air travel is the safest form of transport. But today's story is about a man who faced two tragic plane crashes, and lived to tell about it. Austin had very fond memories of his wonderful childhood. He had two loving parents. His father was a doctor while his mother was a housewife. He would recall how his mom, Julie, was an incredibly positive person. With her effervescent and lively personality, she would always be the life of every party. People would just gravitate towards her. Austin was also blessed with two wonderful siblings. His sister named Lindsay always aspired to be a ballerina. He also had a younger brother named Ian. Life was good. However, when Austin was aged 8 years, his life came crumbling down. One day when his family was returning from a visit to the grandparents, on their way back from Michigan, something went horribly wrong. While landing, their small plane hurried towards the ground due to a malfunction. A crash was inevitable. The plane crash resulted in the deaths of his beloved mother and siblings. Luckily, Austin himself and his father survived. Even though the survivors escaped certain death with just minor scrapes and bruises, their hearts were deeply wounded as their family had been torn apart by the unforgiving accident. His parents had been married for the past 17 years. Imagine what Austin's father must be going through after being in such unsuspecting circumstances. The only driving force for him to carry on living was to care for Austin, who now had no other support system left. Trying to make sense of things, both Stephen and Austin pushed through life holding the memories of their loved ones firmly in their hearts. They would often find themselves reminiscing about old times while looking at old photos of fond memories. The father and son had an unshakable relationship. Austin always wanted to be a successful basketball player. It is easy to lose all hope when faced with such adversity, but Stephen, being a basketball player himself, in his early days, helped and encouraged his son to pursue this dream. Time went by and as luck would have it, Stephen met a woman named Kimberly and fell in love. She and her 3 children became Austin's new family. Austin, who had become very lonely after the loss of his loved ones, was relieved and grateful for this new addition to their family. He enjoyed having siblings and welcomed Brittany, Maria and another Austin into their home with open arms. He also developed a strong bond with his new mother. Meanwhile, he continued to chase his dream of becoming a basketball player and was finally awarded a scholarship by Michigan University. This was also where his mother Julie had gotten her education. All was going well and the pieces of Austin's life were finally falling into place. Little did he know, that a few days later, fate would once again come knocking on his door. Austin was traveling by air with his father and mother, when the unthinkable happened. A second plane crash. His parents died on the spot. He himself was left with life-threatening injuries. He was rushed to the hospital from the crash site as the doctors found that his femur, collarbone and ribs were broken and he had a very serious head injury. Austin was put in a coma to speed up the healing process, but when the doctors tried to revive him, he didn't respond. 6 weeks passed by, after which he was finally able to gain consciousness. Being bedridden for so long, it was very difficult for him to comprehend what all had transpired. It was as if he had to restart his whole life. He had to figure out how to walk again. He also had to undergo speech therapy to learn how to speak like he used to. Losing more members of his family and yet another plane crash brought Austin unimaginable pain and sorrow. He recalled that he had never been surrounded by such darkness before and that it was extremely difficult to cope with it. However, he found some hope when the medical staff, doctors and therapists he was surrounded by, took great care of him and supported him all through his recovery. Several of his friends also came through for him and looked after him just like family. Due to the incident, Austin had to put in 1 more year at his school but eventually managed to attend Michigan University after his graduation. He was struggling to be fit enough to play basketball again, but his scholarship was intact. Although his performance did not show his full potential, gradually he was able to play on a regular basis for his team. Things had started to look up for Austin when he met a girl named Abby from the volleyball team. He soon realized that she was the one, and asked her to marry him. She said yes. Good fortune didn't stop there. As soon as Austin graduated, he found a decent job at Domino's Pizza where he used his amazing survival story to motivate others. Soon he came up with a program called the Grit Framework to help people overcome the troubles that they had faced in their lives. Through his framework, he hoped to provide encouragement and bring positivity into the lives of those who were facing adversity. He knew that his life was spared for a reason. It was now his turn to teach others, and motivate them, to help them and pull them out of darkness. He has conducted over 100 virtual talks and seminars for groups all over the United States. Now that traveling restrictions are being removed, he also goes physically around the country, giving motivational speeches to universities, businesses, and the like. He travels by air and does not fear it at all. Austin's story shows us that no matter how bad things get, and no matter how difficult the circumstances, through perseverance, motivation, and determination, you learn to get back on your feet and live up to your true potential.